NEK-TV Rocks. This is the last in the series of Meet the Mayoral candidates, Meet the City Council candidates. And my guest today is Roderick Owen.
Yes.
Is it Owen with an S or without the S?
With an S.
With an S,
Yes.
Owens. Good Welsh name.
Thank you. I have looked it up. Yes, my name is Roderick Owens.
Exactly. And you are running for mayor.
Yes.
What brought you to that brave stance?
Well, over the years, I've actually gotten to the point where I enjoy serving, and I enjoy being in the public eye, and I enjoy working with people in community.
Right.
And so, if you put a couple pieces together, the next and obvious move would be, hey, maybe you'd be interested in running for mayor, and I was, because I think I can help and I can serve, and I definitely like meeting people and helping with collaboration and community.
So you decided to jump in at the top rather than starting at council or one of the other similar roles.
I don't know if it would say it at the top. I mean, I'm choosing the position that I feel I'm most qualified for and can be the most impactful. Like, I'm originally from Atlanta, outside of Atlanta, Georgia, in Columbus, Georgia. I've actually been in Vermont since 1992. I came up to go to the University of Vermont, where I graduated from with as an English major and a business minor. So I graduated from UVM in 1996, so almost, a long time. But I also I also was certified to teach high school English, and had a background in education. But I went into the private sector, the corporate world. I've worked with, I've owned my own businesses. I've worked in businesses as middle management, as well as helped in community service organizations. So I have a strong leadership and background, and I'm used to being, the person that everybody looks to for solutions and answers, and at least they know that he's at least committed to making sure that it happens. So so there's been some steps, but yes, I've been in Vermont for 30 years. I've moved to the Northeast Kingdom in 2012 after spending the first 20 years in Chittenden County, and then I moved up to Newport.
You came to the real Vermont then.
It is different here. It's different here, and I love the Northeast Kingdom. I love the Northeast Kingdom. Fewer people, more mountains, a little bit more open air. I mean, like I said, I've chosen to be in Newport, and I've chosen to stay in the Northeast Kingdom.
And you've been in Newport how long?
This will be going into my third year of being in Newport. Yeah,
long enough.
But that's a little misleading though, because when you move to the Northeast Kingdom, like I lived in Barton the first 9 years, but all of the services and things that I needed to have happen usually were in Newport. Yeah. So I've been watching and witnessing a lot of the things that have been happening in Newport for quite some time, and especially the last 6 years, especially. So with my business background and as well as my community organizing background, I've made a lot of inroads with people, via NECO, via Northeast Kingdom Human Services, via numerous organizations, and I've just worked my way up the ladder, I would say. I, definitely have enjoyed that, and and that led to the whole, the political aspirations. So let's see, how do I put this? So no, I've started working with like Catherine Sims and Kesha Ram on their campaigns a few years ago as things were progressing. And then like most recently, as like last week, I was voted the chairman of the Orleans County Democratic Committee. And I have, a little following with the state Vermont Democratic.
So you're going to wake them up?
Not just wake.
That would be a really, really good thing to do.
I respect your sentiment, and I am definitely going to, as the chairman, despite whatever happens with the mayoral campaign, I'm going to work to make sure, that we all stay activated, and that I know there's a lot of, a lot more democratic and progressive people up here, especially in Newport City, that hopefully, we can get them out to share with their voice and. Yeah, I guess wake them up would be important. Because being woke is a good
subtle,
thing.
But
no, I appreciate that because being woke is a good thing for for most people. They don't. But yes, so that's kind of how I've ended up here and working with the political campaign. So I admire Newport a lot, and I think it has a lot of wonderful potential. And the only thing I can really like equate it to, for instance, is like when I first moved into, when I first came to Vermont in Burlington and Lake Champlain. Like, I remember what that area looked like in 1992 and 93. Right. And I see a lot of that, unfortunately it's 30 years ago, but I see a lot of that potential in Newport City and for Magog and all of the surrounding, that we have a lot of opportunities. And, and it's been interesting, a little disheartening to watch some of the things as they've developed. With
right. I was going to say, please don't turn us into Chittenden County.
No.
We have our own charm, and they don't have it.
But I also think that we have an opportunity as
yes.
Newport to be, a beacon in northern Vermont. I think,
yeah.
We can do a lot of things up here, with diversity, with collaboration and community, that, no, we won't become Chittenden County. I think that's a different path.
Yes.
But I definitely think we can get access to some of those resources that they have.
That would be really nice.
And I think a lot of things that we've missed some opportunities with, like, rural equity and, where, even with like COVID and ESSER funds and things like that, there's a lot of funds that we might not have gotten access to because we didn't have the right people in place to allocate them or to figure out how they should be spent and utilized. So there is
certainly truth in that. And it would be really nice if a little of that environmental justice could be pounded into heads south of us.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, certainly under the Golden Globe.
Precisely, and I think having a more of a unified voice in the Northeast Kingdom and being, having someone that's willing to get all the stakeholders to the table, and it doesn't matter whether you're red or blue or purple, it doesn't matter, because we all live here, and we all want the best Newport possible.
And one of the interesting things about up here is that there really isn't red and blue.
Precisely.
And that's very refreshing.
I think so, and that's why I'm hoping, with my background and being from the University of Vermont, as well as I attended St. Michael's College. That's where I worked on my master's degree in marketing. No, I'm 30 years in Vermont. If I know I'm not, a Vermonter, and I'm accepting of being a Flatlander. I'm fine with that.
Well, you're one step ahead of me because I'm a foreign Flatlander. So what can I say?
Yes, exactly. Woe is us, right?
Yeah.
But 30 years later, I definitely have seen, where Vermont has gone and where Vermont can go. I raised my daughter here in Vermont. That's part of one of the reasons I've stayed as long as I have. By some, whatever misfortune or fortune, however it worked out, I ended up with full legal and physical custody of my daughter when she was 4 months old. So that, allowed me to put some of my personal aspirations and things like that on hold, and to be, full-time father. And when we came up here in 2012, part of it was so that she could go to high school at Lake Region Union High School, and she, attended all 4 years, and graduated as valedictorian.
Nice.
And then went on to Harvard and graduated.
What?
Graduated from Harvard
Pretty
in
good.
2021. And that's something that a single dad can do that might not look like everybody else in the community, but I stuck to my guns, and I worked, and I collaborated with everybody I needed, and and that's part of the reason I'm a teacher at Barton, Barton Academy and Graded School, middle school English teacher. So that's fun.
I've been following that.
Yes, exactly. So, and that's where I've done a lot of my community organizing and working with equity and working with the school board members there, as well as the school board and the community in large down, and that's also part of Orleans County, which we sometimes feel
and the
disconnected
interesting thing, there's several interesting things in what you're saying, obviously, but one of which is you have a real understanding of the struggle that a single parent has with a kid, and how you find daycare, childcare, etc. And that's really an issue up here, as you know.
Well, it's not just an issue; it's a struggle, and I think it's one of those things that we can work on, collectively. And individually, because a person with, the right resources can find the right skills, like luckily for me, I was able to be a substitute teacher, like at Barton, at Barton Academy and Graded School, as well as Oxu. Like while my daughter was in high school, because it was, for me, it was important to be a part of her, soccer and her basketball, and to be there when she got off the school bus at 3:30, and to be a part of that life. And luckily, I already had a college degree, and I was But meanwhile, there were struggles, and I did have to get a lot of services and assistance from, Newport and in some of the state offices. And, but that did help me,
Sure.
understand that, there is another side of the railroad tracks, and that everybody doesn't come, from the same background or
Right.
have the same access. So,
Right.
and the more inviting and inclusive that we can be, the better it is. So yes, I was very lucky, and I've always had friends and support in the community, and with close people with me that helped, and that's why she was as successful as she was and is. And
Sure.
for me, it was like one of the things I shared with her, and it was a great opportunity. It's like I said to her, over the last couple of weeks, it's like, no. Her name's Olivia. I'm like, no, Olivia, I'm appreciative of you, and I'm thankful for you because, you went to college, you did what you were supposed to do, and you spent the last 2 years in the professional world, and everything's great. And you've literally given me, your father, the last 6 years, to refocus on his life and
Right.
figure out what he wanted to do because
What am I going to be now I'm a grown-up?
yes, exactly. And it was a freedom that I literally hadn't felt since I was like 25 years
Right.
old, when you decide to take on, parenting responsibilities. So understanding that and understanding how important, the right access to healthcare, access to transportation, and we're all a part of the same community, and we all vote and we all have whether we pay our property taxes directly or through our landlord, we're all
Oh, we're all paying them.
yeah, exactly, and we're all
And water and sewage and
yes,
all of the other
yes, precisely.
components.
And we're all experiencing the cost of living in a city too. So that's
Right.
one of the things, I was sharing this with some other people that I was talking about, as, the potential mayor, I know how to read, business forecasts and projections, and I can read actuary charts and things like that as
This
far
is
as
good.
budgets.
Yeah.
So we can look at where the budget has been in the previous years and make solid projections moving forward, as well as they've asked what can we do to reduce our property tax burden. Well, the first thing is to try to increase revenues. So if we can increase revenues, there's other ways to reduce property tax burdens. But meanwhile, I'm somebody that's going to be at the table and willing to do the work, day in and day out to make it, to leave it better than I found it. That's one of my goals. Is just to leave it better than I found it.
That's a good goal. It's a good goal for life, too.
Right.
A really
exactly.
good goal.
So yes, there's a lot that goes into who I am, and even when we were talking about scheduling and things like that, it's I'm a full-time teacher. So I have about 50 middle school students, 6th, 7th, and 8th graders in Barton that I absolutely adore, and it's taught me a lot about myself. Even when I had an option, for instance, to go back into the corporate world or to go back into owning my own business or things like that, I was like, no, I want to continue serving. I want to stay in the community because even the things that I've seen with the disparities in our education system, especially up here, in the Northeast Kingdom compared to other places, it's we need that. We need diversity for sure, and we need to attract more diversity. And when you attract different types of diversity, and the whole community gets better and benefits.
Right.
So for me, that was most impactful by staying as a teacher.
What would you think are the biggest issues for Newport to be working on?
Just I don't want to sound after school special, but the first thing I think we need to work on is just getting along, just communicating and understanding that we all have, invested interest into the outcome of this, and there are community issues and solutions out there for us to work together. So the first thing I would want to do is bring more community and inclusiveness. I would want our city council meetings to be less contentious. We can try, and if there's our issues,
We wish.
no, we will. It's
We wish.
it can happen, and I'm one of
Yes,
those
it
people
can.
that's very relentless when it comes to those things. So, and if there are underlying circumstances or things that haven't been resolved or haven't been worked out, then I think the mayor or whomever can needs to work on those relationships outside of the city council meeting.
So you would be building community
Absolutely.
and including community.
Absolutely. And
How do you
there's-
feel about transparency?
Transparency is crucial. There's things that this is a public, everything that happens should be within public purview, and I don't really say anything in private that I'm not willing to say in public, honestly.
Good.
So I find that definitely works well. If you're always straight shooter and pragmatic, then you don't
People
have to
don't
keep your
have to
story
like
straight.
what you're saying.
No,
They
it's
really don't. But at least you've said it, and you said it directly, and it's clear, and
Yes.
everybody knows where they stand.
Yes, exactly.
It's important.
I think that's one of the things that has helped me as a business owner. It's helped me as a community organizer. It helps me every day as a teacher. I'm
Yeah.
consistent. I like it. I am consistent. I'm a very what you see is what you get, and I don't usually ask things of people that I'm not willing to do myself. And it doesn't matter whether it's big jobs or little jobs. Like there's so many things. So if when you ask me like what's important for Newport, I think Newport is running well. But I think we can always improve. And I think with extra attentiveness and attention to detail, we can figure out ways that we can improve.
Right.
And there's a lot of people, and I enjoy how a lot of our, people involved in city council and a lot of people involved in our offices have been there for a while.
Oh, yes.
And I appreciate that because they bring a wealth of knowledge and things like that. But you can also go to them and ask, so where do you think we should start first? What do you think would be most important to help this department work better? And then I think communicating and collaborating, with the city council members and understanding my role just to, first and foremost to be a peacekeeper and to bring more people to the table. I think there's a lot of economic prosperity that we can build on. I don't really, I'm not going to be, in essence, distracted by the hole on Main Street right now. I'm more going to be distracted with, making the buildings and the companies around that hole,
Right.
Building them up so
Yeah.
that whomever, can make a final decision on that will be willing to do so. And whether it's sell, whether it's transfer, however it works out, the key is to work on the area
Right.
around the hole.
And
to-
I'm sure, as you know, Newport does not own the whole. There
Yes.
is no point in being distracted by it.
Precisely.
It's not your problem to solve.
Well, yes, and if I could maybe put some nice flowers or something along the fence lines or some vines.
We
or
have
something like
had
that.
some great ideas about what to put in the hole while
Yes.
it's still a hole.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and I love community gardening and things like
Right.
that. And it's funny because even being somebody that lived in Barton for the last before I moved to Newport, I still had a garden, over in Glover, right off of Dexter Mountain.
Right.
And I came to the Newport Farmers Market. So I was literally selling my vegetables at the Newport Farmers Market. So, and I've enjoyed Gardner Park. I've enjoyed so many aspects of the city. And I think, it's time. Some people would say, and I would probably agree with them, that, we've been stagnant. And we've been stagnant for a while. And especially after, how we ended up with the hole, and not just and I mean, because there were other businesses that were supposed to come in. There was a
That's
hotel.
right.
There
There
was
was
a
a
lot
lot.
of things, and I was someone that, when I first moved into town in 2012, I wanted to be a part of this growth and development.
Right.
And then and I remember having this conversation with a banker from Boston that was up at one of the events at the Gateway. And I'm like, does this sound interesting? I mean, because I had my college and my background, my business background, and I'm like, okay, this doesn't sound completely copacetic, and I don't know
Right.
if it's sustainable, and it sounds like this and that. And lo and behold, we found out, I found out within a year later that, it wasn't.
Right.
And there's still some, and a lot of, there were a lot of wounded people, a lot of wounded proud.
There are a lot of wounded people, and partly because regular people could see the flaws in what was being offered and would say, excuse me, is this real?
Right.
And would ask questions, and they all got shot down in flames. So
Yes.
there's still feelings around that.
Right, and that's what when I say about rebuilding community, rebuilding, and you brought up transparency. Well, that's
Right.
the trust, and that's the community, at least so that we can, put a name with a program or with a project that, at least we know that these people are going to follow through and be invested in it. So I think once we get all the stakeholders back to the table, and however that takes place, like whatever we have to do, or, because in true negotiations, everybody doesn't walk away happy,
It's okay.
And that's
As
normal.
long as people feel listened to and respected,
Precisely.
that's all it takes.
Precisely.
It really is.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why, I love this area, and even as a quote unquote renter, it's somebody brought that up. I'm like, well, you're a renter, well, because I'm still looking for the place that I
Perfect
want
house.
to live. Exactly, and it can be any part of Newport that I choose,
Yeah.
and if the right place comes along, I'll be happy. But either way, I have a fantastic landlord.
You've got somewhere to live.
And I have a fantastic landlord who, when she heard I was running for mayor, she was ecstatic. She was like, "That's awesome, wonderful, congratulations!" And I was like,
Right.
"Okay, well, at least I know."
And you could have a community garden here.
Yes,
There's
yes.
one at Bluffside Farm.
That's true too. And I actually had one right in front of my house too, and it did well. I grew eggplant. I love growing eggplant and interesting things, just because. But I grow vegetables. I don't usually grow anything that
So
I
do
can't
I.
eat.
Practical.
I'm just saying. But yes, I was happy to have that, to have my garden again this year. But that's, so as we look forward, with Newport, and yes, I definitely have a vision for Newport.
Have you been to any of the city council meetings?
Yes, I've attended a couple, and I have watched them, and I see, and what's interesting is, even this week, or yes, actually it's still Thursday, like on Monday night, I went to the Newport City Elementary School Board meeting,
Yeah.
and so that was fun. And then and keep in mind, I've been listening and attending the
Right.
Orleans Central Supervisory
Yeah.
School Board meetings too. So it was great to be a part of, both of them, and and some of the issues are still the same. I mean, I love education, and
Yeah.
I'm committed to education. I think, I think the key for us is education, because if we don't educate our youth, we're definitely bound to continue
And
repeating.
front-loading, too.
Yes, precisely. And that's even one of some of the most fulfilling work that I have been doing in Orleans County has been with the Old Stonehouse Museum.
Yeah.
I get to dress up and have been, taking on the persona of Alexander Twilight. and it's something that even when I first moved to Vermont,
Yeah.
I kid you not, I'm at the University of Vermont, and I keep hearing about Alexander Twilight.
I'm thinking, who's that?
And the Middlebury connection,
Yeah.
Did you hear about the first African American to go
Yeah.
to college? He went to Middlebury. And I was like, oh, Middlebury, okay. And then I had an opportunity to start to learn about him through that connection. And then lo and behold, I end up in Orleans County. And I was embraced by the Old Stonehouse Museum. And it was like, I just want to put my hands together, because this is a story that needs to be told. So having a role in it becoming a state holiday and promoting the camp and and having his birthday, that just means so much to me, because every year I now dress up as Alexander Twilight, and there are clips.
One other thing that I've heard about you, and as I say, you've sort of flown under the radar for a lot, is that you enjoy acting.
Yes, I do.
So that's true, right?
That is very much true, very much
And
true.
you're involved with production at the Haskell?
Yes, I am a member of the Borderline Players. I do.
Yeah.
I do love it, and I appreciate it, and it's part of my foreign policy, actually. It's because the Haskell is right there on the border.
Exactly.
I'm actually working on my third show with them, and that's another one of those things that I'm so thankful for my daughter for. Over the last few years, is because
Yeah.
I couldn't do acting while I was raising my daughter and things like
Sure,
that.
it's
So
a lot of hours.
yes, and you try to be good at your craft and hobbies, right? But after she left and went to college, I was, approached about being a part of it, and I love having, working with Canadian actors,
Yeah.
and having, the U.S. and the Canadian contingent, and we're rehearsing right now for a show that's Noises Off. At
I
the
know
end
it
of-
well.
I love it. It's going to be hilarious, and even me, I'm just glad to be a part of the cast,
Yeah.
and going to do my best not to make any. But so yes, that is fun. I love that aspect of it, but I also like the opportunity to be in front of people and to communicate. So it's keeps your skills fresh, per se.
Yes.
Yes, but yes, and the first play that I did, by the way, the musical was Mamma Mia. So yeah, so I was upstairs.
That was a good production.
I was on stage dancing. I was very,
Yeah.
and and then I had so yes, my third one, and hopefully, I don't plan on doing much this summer other than focusing on my new role. Hopefully, that's my plan. But maybe in the fall, after things
You
settle
can
down.
slot in a little theatre.
Yeah, well, I'm
Maybe
not
you could
gonna-
bring theatre to the council.
Well, all the world is a stage. And, but I think, like I said, I think everybody, from what I've seen, and even from going into like this different offices and collecting information and doing research, like I've reviewed the upcoming year's budget and, you know, compared it to last year's budget, I think everybody's heart is in the right place. And there might be some people that, you know, might be a little burnt out, might not be, you know, maybe feeling more hopeless than hopeful, you know. So that's one of the things I always will bring energy and enthusiasm to the role, you know, for whatever I'm working on, and I'm going to roll up my sleeves and do the best I can and like keep everybody engaged. So that's every day. So yes, I'm enjoying it.
It's a challenge. Have you met any of the council members, any who are running?
I have met a few of them, a few of the council members, and you know, and I guess purposefully I have kind of stayed out of it because I don't want to appear anything except impartial, you know, and I want to hear both sides of the story, and I want to hear both positions, and I definitely plan, you know, I honestly, like I plan to make, you know, moderate and centrist type decisions, you know, that hopefully, you know, brings everybody to the table with, you know, for the common good.
Right.
You know, so there are things that I will not, you know, cannot tolerate, like racism, sexism, xenophobia, any of that stuff. No, that's not a part of politics, and it's not a part of a thriving community.
Right.
So, yes.
On that note,
Yes.
we're out of time. Do you have one last thought that you'd like people to have?
Well, my website is owensformayor.com.
Okay.
You know, so there's
the businessman approach.
There is information there, so you'll be
Yeah.
able to find more information about my platform
Cool.
and about some of the things I have done in Vermont over the last 30 years to, you know, if you want to fill out all the parts. But, you know, I definitely have a vision for Newport, and I think if there were a slogan or a tagline, I mean, you know, it would be, you know, Rod Owens, a new voice for Newport, you know, and someone that's trying to bring everybody
Yeah.
to the table and collaborate. And, you know, and I definitely understand intersectionality.
Right.
And I
I'm sure you
understand
do.
everybody's roles.
Yeah.
And we can all meet, we can all
Yeah.
find a happy medium. We can all meet in the
Okay.
middle.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
And this video will be out there, and
Yes.
people will get to know you.
Excellent.
Okay. Thank you.